Hey, good morning, everybody. Drinking my mineralized adrenaline drink, which I used to not be able to drink this like after three, like 5 or 10 years ago. Like I couldn't drink coffee after three because the adrenaline would keep producing. It wouldn't shut off until like way later, and then I'd be up all night. And so I see that in people who say that they can't drink coffee or any kind of espresso drink after a certain time of day because they can't sleep. Well, I can drink coffee and espresso any time of day. It doesn't matter. I can drink in the morning, I can drink it at night, I could drink it in the afternoon, and I could drink any espresso too in the morning, night, and afternoon. I don't want to drink like Starbucks espresso, in the afternoon, but sometimes I will. And it only lasts a minute. So the body, it's funny how the body, when it's really healed, it will turn on the adrenaline when I drink whatever it is that has caffeine in it that triggers the adrenals, but then it does shut off. But people who have imbalances in their body, they'll drink something that triggers a hormone and it doesn't shut off, or it shuts off way later down the road when it's finally exhausted. And that's when you know you have imbalances, is because you are afraid to eat certain foods or certain drinks lest it might trigger a hormone that you can't control. And so it's interesting to see that phenomenon. And then when I drink coffee any time of the day, it's just like for a moment, just to kind of give me a perk, but it doesn't punish me for the next like 5 or 6 hours like it used to. And I used to drink like 6 or 7 shots of espresso in the morning when I was working in my 20s and 30s, when I was working at these different companies. And I'd go to like Starbucks and get like a 6-shot Starbucks coffee, and then I'd just be buzzing and completely like, out of my mind for like a few hours. And then I have that crash. But now I just drink I don't even drink a full cup. I drink, a few sips here and there, and that's about it. It's all my body can handle. And so yeah, that's pretty interesting. And then with that, as far as, and the adrenals, the adrenaline is a hormone, just so you guys know. Whenever you eat and drink stuff and you take stuff, remedies and stuff, they all impact your hormones in some way, okay? Everything that happens in your body is a hormone. It's a biochemistry, okay? And right now, I've seen some warnings here in Cleveland area, Ohio, when it comes to the seasonal affect disorder, because of people's hormones are off during the change from summer to fall to then winter. And so people are now more depressed. It's called seasonal affect disorder. And yeah, when you're adjusting from going from a lot of sun to being outside to now being indoors, not getting as much sun, and already have imbalances, then the body suppresses the vitamin D because it's not able to produce it even in times where it doesn't get a lot of sun. And so you see then the effects of depression and what they would call seasonal affect disorder. I experienced that a long time ago when I first moved here, but I also had premenstrual dysphoric disorder and I got here I got here in 2010, and then I left for a few years, and we finally came back in like 2013, 2014. But I did, before the Jilly Juice protocol, I was totally affected by the lack of sun. But now that I'm on the Jilly Juice, I can go outside, even in the tiny bit of sun that's out there, I can still derive the triggers for vitamin D to keep then all of my hormone levels all balanced out, because I'm also taking in a Jilly Juice drink that also has balanced out my hormones and strengthen my weaknesses. Okay. And so lately, you guys have been seeing on my Facebook wall, I've been putting these different memes because I figured out how to use this app on my phone to make memes. And I've been really hounding the holistic industry a lot, because if anything, the holistic industry is a lot more dangerous than the allopathic industry. And some of you be like, oh my God, no, it's not. The allopathic is so much more dangerous. No, it's not. Because people don't realize that the holistic industry is the same thing but packaged differently. And so people are under the impression that if it's not a pharmaceutical, if it's not a prescription drug or over-the-counter drug or whatever, that it's safer. If it's like a food or a root or an extract or an oil or a supplement, it's far safer than a prescription drug. Well, the reason why it's not like you're seeing it being FDA approved or being like, you know, drug, a category 1 drug like turmeric or cannabis. Well, cannabis is a category drug, but like turmeric and garlic is because in small, thanks Jojo, hey, in small amounts, okay, garlic, which is like a remedy in the holistic world, in small amounts, you break it down, it is a heavy metal when you break it down. It can be very, very acidic if you take a lot of it. And so they can't really control garlic because it's used as a spice. But people use garlic as if it was a drug and they overdo it. Same thing with colloidal silver. In small amounts, it's great, but you don't even need colloidal silver. You get the trace minerals in pink Himalayan. So when you're taking these types of remedies, okay, in the holistic world, now we're going to make sure you understand that's under the holistic world. When you take these kind of remedies that are like foods or different heavy metals that are in a major conglomeration, and you take so much of it and you already have imbalances, because why do people have cancer, disease, and chronic illness? Because they have imbalances in their fatty acids, amino acids, prohormones, and their minerals. So when I'm seeing in the holistic world where they are putting out these memes and these pictures of like all these different like antibiotics, like natural antibiotics, and it shows turmeric and apple cider vinegar and kombucha and garlic and echinacea and all these different types of herbs and extracts and drinks that are so acidic, it's like they don't realize, well, they do realize, but they're doing the same thing that the allopathic industry is doing. They're still targeting symptoms. They're trying to suppress the pain. It's like a pain, like a natural painkiller. It's anti-inflammatory. Well, what's the intent of anti-inflammatories and painkillers? To stop the pain, to suppress one of the hormones that the body actually needs. The best hormone the body needs to heal in this crazy world that we live in is being suppressed by the holistic world and the allopathic world. And then people are actually using their own hormones to also suppress the prostaglandin hormone. So it's not even just the holistic remedies and the juicing and the natural antibiotics and the probiotics and the prescription drugs, but they're also doing all these different things, like taking like ayahuasca or taking crystals or manipulating parts of your body to then release like all these toxins that are in your lymph nodes, and then the body is then being reinfected yet again, and the body is then now dealing with trauma, not just twice, because once for the initial trauma, twice for the remedies that you apply to it, the third time for all the extra remedies that you apply to it. Because you know when you had the initial trauma, let's say a car accident, okay, and then you applied all these different antibiotics, you had modern medicine done to you, and then okay, fine, so that's the first trauma is the accident. The second trauma is the antibiotics and all the different medicines they put on you. The third trauma is when it actually acts up years later and you're going to get a massage. So now you're doing the Jilly Juice after the first initial trauma, the second trauma, which is how they fixed you up, and then the third trauma because you're revisiting therapies to help you manage, okay? And then you're doing the Jilly Juice. Now you have to heal 3 times. So imagine when you keep going back to that same issue over and over again with different remedies, how many times you traumatize your body with juicing, with the pills, power supplements, and herbs and detoxes and cannabis and drugs, and then taking too much of a certain food because you're thinking that, okay, well, I have a cold, and so I don't want to take any kind of prescription drug or NyQuil, so I'm going to then ply my kid's body and my body with elderberry syrup. Well, guess what's in elderberry syrup? It is the spices. You get the honey, so you get the spices, which is the natural antibiotics, which is already acidic, a lot of heavy metals when you break it down. It has the sugar, Okay, so sugar, as I said, now sugar isn't necessarily bad, but when you already have acid imbalances, now it puts you more imbalance in your acids. And then it also has, what else? It has other extracts, licorice, okay? And so the elderberry syrup is actually very acidic. It has therapeutic benefits, just like chemotherapy, it's therapeutic. Everything, see, the whole thing with the therapies, the intention is to stop the pain and stop the programming. Therapies is where they figure out what can they do to poison the body to stop the hormones enough to where you don't die or suffer major adverse reactions. However, they do have the side effects, the caveat saying, hey, you know, potentially based upon your biochemistry, they don't say it in so many words, but the side effects are there for those that have that specific biochemistry, that have weaknesses that will suffer the side effects. Okay, so they cover their ass, but they know for the general population, these drugs and these remedies and these things are relatively safe. But there's always exceptions to every rule because everyone's biochemistry is different, but they've already done the test to say, okay, well, 25% of the population is going to get all these different diseases, and we're willing to risk 25% over the 75% are going to be okay, and they're going to keep buying our drugs for a certain amount of time. And then they have a slush fund for those that can't seem to get with that drug and get the side effects. And that's why you have the vaccine slush funds. That's why you have all the different lawsuits that already have the money set aside for those that are reacting adversely to whatever remedy that's out there that actually has listed side effects. Now, why you don't see the side effect stuff like on the colloidal silver is because you're not supposed to take so much, but then the body tries to release any excess. I mean, I've taken colloidal silver a few times. I've never taken the whole bottle, okay? But I have put some in my mouth and gargled with it when I was thinking I was getting sick, but that really didn't help. Yeah, it stopped the healing process, because when your body is trying to expel mucus and you're taking colloidal silver and elderberry syrup and Mucinex and whatever else that is anti-inflammatory, it stops the healing process, okay? And then you're not releasing any excess, and then it compounds your issue. That's compound disease when you take the wrong chemistry, okay? And so I'm thinking that Jilly Juice is single-handedly going to take down the holistic industry, because they're no different than the allopathic industry, but then they're far more dangerous because unregulated, and then people go overboard, like majorly overboard. Like when I heard about that mother bragging about her kid asking for garlic cloves to eat as a snack, that's when you know people have taken the holistic industry way overboard. So when someone's juicing, people are juicing nowadays, and they're juicing their fruits, juicing their vegetables, juicing everything aside from meat, okay? Well, you already have malabsorption, okay? So you already can't really absorb the nutrients that are in the juiced vegetables, but then you're throwing away really great components of the juice, the fibers, the things that your body needs. So with you already having malabsorption, so you're not going to derive the most, maximize benefit from that fruit and vegetable. Then you already have imbalances. So you're thinking like, oh, I have, like you see these juice cures where like, oh yeah, it targets the liver. It targets if you have a headache, if you have whatever ache, it has all these different types of symptoms that these juice cures target. Then what happens is that you cause more imbalances because of the acids or the heavy metals or the sugars, which is a part of the acids. And then it causes more imbalances, and then you're already malabsorbed. You already have malabsorption, so you're not going to drive any benefit really. So all you're doing is really starving yourself, okay? And people don't realize that. They think, oh yeah, if I juice if I juice the cabbage but not ferment it, I'm going to get the same benefit as Jilly Juice. No, you're not. If you juice your fruits and you juice your celery and you juice no. If that really worked, we would have people who are vegan and vegetarian juicing their fruits be completely 100% healthy, not aging. But I see too many, and I've heard of too many vegans and vegetarians who are starving themselves, working out, and degrading rapidly in the system. And so if you understand that your body is made up of fatty acids, amino acids, prohormones, and minerals, and here's the thing, when I was looking up like hormones, okay, so now I'm looking at like hormones, because everything is hormones. So I asked Google this question, and this is where you guys got to learn how to do Googles. What hormones are in fat? The hormones leptin is produced by fat cells and secreted into our bloodstream. Leptin reduces a person's appetite by acting on specific centers of their brain to reduce their urge to eat. It also seems to control how the body manages its store of body fat. Okay, so when you suppress the leptins, then it makes you want to eat more. So that's probably why what's going on with this stupid cannabis is people are so in the munchies because they're suppressing the hormone of leptin. So, and then when you want to stop somebody from eating, okay, then you have them induce more leptins. And then there's drugs and things that people do to do that as well. Okay, and that's with all these different remedies and all these different ways of using foods out there, is to try to control your hormones, but obviously it causes more imbalances. And then here's another same thing too that I was looking at that I want to read to you guys. I asked the same question again: what types of hormones are in fat? So the hormones leptin and insulin, sex hormones and growth hormones influence our appetite, metabolism, the rate at which our body burns kilojoules for energy, and body fat distribution. People who are obese have levels of these hormones that encourage abnormal metabolism and the accumulation of body fat. So when somebody is obese, it's not because they're eating too much. They have a hormonal imbalance that basically has them, that they're suppressed their leptins, suppressed hormones. So the same thing with the whole pain is healing. Prostaglandin hormone, which I have several memes on my page. When people are taking anti-inflammatories, painkillers, drugs, antibiotics, juicing their fruits and vegetables with spices, they are trying to suppress the prostaglandin hormone. That's probably the most important hormone because that aids in the healing process. That's probably the most important hormone and aids in the healing process. And so that's another hormone that people don't realize that they're taking all these remedies for, and it really need to stop taking those remedies because it's basically poison, okay? It's basically poison when you're trying to suppress hormones that your body needs to heal. So then amino acids derived hormones, okay? So the amino acid derived hormone ending in interesting, okay, are derived from tyrosine and tryptophan and include epinephrine and norepinephrine. Okay, so when you think about it, it gives you the energy, which is adrenaline, right? And then the tryptophan, when you guys get sleepy after eating turkey, you want to take a nap, well, then you have the norepinephrine. And produced by the adrenal medulla. Amino acid derived hormones also include thyroxine, produced by the thyroid gland, and melatonin, produced by the pineal gland. So when you guys are not eating meat and you're all vegetarian and you're missing your thyroid, you're basically starving yourself. And then, yeah, your sleep disturbances are going to happen because you're missing melatonin because your amino acids are off, because you're trying to control your hormones in a synthetic way. You haven't balanced them out. And this is where people have issues with their thyroid. They have issues with their sleep, issues with everything because of the fact of that they are starving themselves of food, trying to juice their foods, and they don't have the device that's able to maximize the benefit because they have leaky gut. Why would you juice your foods? Because you didn't juice your foods before. You ate regular food, and then at some point your body degraded to the point of where you felt you had to juice your foods, but you still can't maximize that benefit. You can't take all of that nutrition that your body needs and use it properly so you don't have to juice your foods, and then it becomes a vicious circle, vicious cycle. And this is where then systematic degradation happens because people are changing their diets and they haven't fixed the device. So you can go from one diet to another diet to another diet, play the holistic game, ply yourself with colloidal silver, ply yourself with juicing your foods, but it's gonna fall on deaf ears. What do we mean by deaf ears? You got leaky gut, you can't maximize the nutrition, your body isn't breaking it down to where you can get access to it. It's pointless. You're wasting the food by juicing it, for one, throw away all the good fibers. And then your body is just releasing it, and you're not even getting to take advantage of the nutrition in it because you have leaky gut. So in essence, your body is like a garbage disposal. Okay, it's not deriving really any major benefit. It keeps you, see, when people are in hospice and they're on their last legs, okay, and they're saying if they don't eat for like a few days, they will die. I mean, I cannot eat for a few days and I'll be fine. Not that I'm going to want to, but people do the fasting, which they shouldn't anyways, but they do. But I could not eat for a few days or even a week, but I wouldn't want to do that. But I could. And I could, and my body would be able to, I have enough on reserve to keep me going. But obviously I need to eat to keep the energy going. When someone is in hospice where they are so depleted, they would die after 3 or 4 days of not eating. Okay, so that should tell you something about that. If you're not keeping enough reserves in your body, then you are surviving on the food that you eat every single day, and you couldn't afford not to eat for a few days because then your body would go into some kind of weird upset of homeostasis. And yeah, people say, oh yeah, that's the detoxing. That's how you reset your body. No, you're in starvation mode. But they want to characterize starvation mode as resetting their body and being like all healthy. Sorry, you already are starving. And then when you deprive your body of the minerals and the acids and the hormones and the prohormones and all of that, then you are extremely starving your body. So that's why the whole diet stuff is a bunch of BS. And then you're compounding the issue with taking in the wrong chemistry and then in turn starving the rest of your body because of your, I don't know, jumping on the bandwagons of diets. Okay? And then fatty acid derived hormones. All right, eicosanoids, eicosanoids, are a large group of molecules derived from polyunsaturated fatty acids. The principal groups of hormones of this class are prostaglandins, okay? So the prostaglandin hormones that aid in the healing process, that give you the pain sensation that you're all trying to suppress with your drugs, it's found in the fatty acids. Prostacyclins, leukotrienes, and thromboxans, and I know I'm totally mispronouncing them, I don't care. And then arachidonic acid is the most abundant precursor for these hormones. Well, somebody's like, well, then now you got to find, if the point is not to suppress the prostaglandins, then you got to go find then the arachidonic acid foods. And I'm like, no, because I looked up the different foods that are arachidonic acid, and it's chicken and eggs. So you think you're going to eat just straight chicken and eggs for the rest of your life to then give you that pain sensation? You think chicken and eggs are going to, you think that's going to just heal your body? So, and then Diogo said, I would like to take a day to talk about it with you. But yeah, people don't get the two-way versus the I understand, Diogo, but I'm going to still slam the ayahuasca. The reason why, because it messes with your biochemistry. It really does. On a strong body, it may give you some kind of, something, but people are doing the ayahuasca on weak bodies, and it's really messing with their biochemistry. Okay? So, yeah, I mean, I know where you're coming from. But I don't need any drugs. I don't need to go and play with my biochemistry to see any kind of different perspective. But I hear where you're coming from, Diogo. Some people do swear by the ayahuasca, but they're doing it because they're trying to get to another level because for some reason they're feeling they're missing levels. Right now, with me on the J Juice, and I am, I would say, potentially more healed and sealed than most people, I have no inclination to do any kind of drugs, whether it's cannabis, smoking pot, or trying to feel differently, because I get the different, I don't know, I get my high from learning about the world that I live in. I don't have to play with my biochemistry, my hormones to get a different high, okay? Because yeah, I could take acid, I could go do all these different drugs and see shapes and holograms and things, but I don't want to. When I go to sleep at night, if my body wants to bring up something at night because I need to worry about it, then I will do it at night. But during the day, I don't need to induce any kind of hormones unless it's for me to heal based upon different environments. So that's why I kind of slam on the ayahuasca, because people do take it for reasons. They wouldn't take it if they weren't trying to figure out their life. Why are people doing drugs? Because they're trying to figure out their life, trying to figure out there's something more to this. Yeah, there is, but it's not doing drugs. It's living indefinitely. Because that's probably the biggest high of all, is when you know that you actually control your own telomeres. You can actually lengthen your own telomeres. But people who do drugs don't think about that because they're looking at the here and now. Imagine if you can lengthen your own telomeres and you don't age, and you're so like clear in your communication, you can articulate any emotion without having to go to the depression, the anger, the love, and the hate. Imagine that you can articulate anything that you want to articulate and be right on point, where you don't have to turn to emotions or chemistry to then make your point. Okay? And that's the biggest high of all, is the ability to communicate everything that you're thinking and doing and still be right on and not be super emotional about it. Now, sometimes I am, because people do cross my boundaries sometimes. But it is what it is, and then I cut them off because I don't need to have those emotions being triggered. But anyways, that was my little right there. Okay, and so yeah, we're not going to be living off of chicken and eggs to bring up that acid, because remember, the keto diet was all about bringing up certain acids, and said, oh yeah, it's all about the meat, but then you become so acidic, you have an acidic imbalance, it causes then a shortened lifespan. So remember, the whole Jilly Juice is about balancing out your acid, your amino acids, your fatty acids, your pro-hormones. What are pro-hormones? They are the nutrients, the vitamin A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, and they're the precursors to then supporting all of your hormones. Because we already did research that vitamin A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, whatever vitamin, whatever you want to call it, okay? Those are actually hormone support. And that's what's in the food supply, is what then triggers the right hormones to come to surface on a life trajectory, and then suppress the hormones that then get triggered on a death trajectory. And oxytocin and adrenaline and, which is epinephrine, a lot of these hormones that are at the surface are then triggered when someone's on a death trajectory. So when you see someone bullying someone, when someone is adrenalized, highly charged, when you see them full of love, and I'm telling you, you will find people who are just so full of love and so full of hate and so full of adrenaline, they're on a death trajectory. And those are the hormones that are most present, and they get triggered by things that easily, and they don't know their boundaries. So that's why they get triggered, and that's why they're highly adrenalized or full of love, because they're always getting triggered. They don't know their boundaries, so that's why they're getting triggered all the time with all these hormones. And then, yeah, and then you see that the body finally just is wore out by that much, hormonal imbalance, and then you see the death process happen. Okay? And so then mineral homeostasis. Then I'm like, how do the minerals and the hormones interact with each other? Okay? So calcium and phosphate, and this, it's in the electrolytes and all that stuff. Mineral homeostasis. So interplay my God, okay. Among organ systems regulates calcium and phosphorus metabolism. So mineral homeostasis involves complex interactions between organ systems, primarily the skeleton, the intestines, and the kidneys. Okay, so you need a balance of minerals to keep the skeleton, because remember, the skeleton is highly mineralized, right? Your bones are minerals. Your intestines, of course, your kidneys, okay. Remember, when you get kidney stones, because you have a lot of mineral deposits in there, so when you have an imbalance, that's when people get kidney stones. So this interplay is regulated by a number of hormones, including the calciotropic hormone, parathyroid hormone, parathyroid hormone-related peptides, calcitonin, and vitamin D metabolites, phosphate-regulated hormones, fibroblast growth factor, PTHD, vitamin D metabolites, sex steroids, glucocorticoids, growth factors, and thyroid hormone. Mineral homeostasis can also be influenced by cytokines and other inflammatory mediators Okay, and yeah, okay. So you need these minerals to help support the hormones. But when you're over mineralized because you have imbalances due to malabsorption and malnutrition, then you're going to see people who are saying, oh God, I have heavy metal toxicity, so I'm going to go take a heavy metal to go and purge heavy metals out of my body. And that's why I could never figure out why people who have heavy metal toxicity take bentonite clay or take all these different detoxes that are basically aluminum silicate. Okay, aluminum is a heavy metal, but you need a certain amount of negative elements or heavy metals or minerals. Okay, so minerals, heavy metals, yeah, minerals and heavy metals are the same thing. Okay, and that's why we don't have orgonite in the household, because orgonite's a heavy metal, and if you already have heavy metal toxicity or imbalance in your heavy metals, and you have orgonite hanging around all over because you're so afraid of the 5G and everything else, now you're causing more negative energy. So this is why, you know, with people who are now finally healing and sealing on the juice, you can have like a crystal, like a regular crystal, and it will reflect back the state that your body's in. But if you have crystals in your house and you have imbalances, guess what those crystals are reflecting back? They're reflecting back the imbalances. So that's why I don't do any of the crystal healing. I don't do any of the orgonite stuff. I mean, I don't even need the crystals. But hey, you know, now that I'm healed and sealed for the most part, and I have more of a balanced energy and a balanced way of being, I could probably handle a bunch of crystals because it would just reflect back the state of my biochemistry. But those of you that are very imbalanced and highly charged and full of love, 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 and hate, 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 and bully, 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 and whatever, and you have crystals, oh my God, it's just going to, I don't say hide though, reflect back, but reflect back even more. It's like having clones of you all over the place. It will heighten and strengthen the imbalances. Okay, so while you're in the healing process, put your clear crystals away. If you have colored crystals, I would be very careful because you don't know how that's interacting with already the minerals that you have in your body and the imbalances. So people that play with crystals, I'm telling you, if you're already imbalanced and you already have imbalances in your hormones, it's just going to reflect back and exacerbate the issues that you already have. Okay? So just something that I'm bringing into here is like the whole chakra and the energy world and the crystal world and all of that. You look at all the different healing protocols, all the different disciplines that are out there. All it is just playing with your hormones. And so when you do the J juice, when you actually are serious and you doing the J juice and all of that, you're going to see your hormones get balanced out, and you're not going to turn to food as a remedy. Food is just food. I could eat whatever food. I could eat processed food. Now, there are some foods that are so mineralized that then my body is releasing after every 3 or 4 hours, and I know, okay, that's too many minerals. So I had a hamburger helper, and it's one of those hamburger helpers that it was like the Spanish rice one where they have the sour cream that's like powdered milk, and I add milk to it and then it turns into sour cream. I mean, it was like the most processed food ever. But remember, processed food is not poisonous. It just depends on your biochemistry. But when I ate that hamburger helper Spanish rice version, I had to pee every 4 hours, which means the body was saying, okay, that's enough minerals in that food source, that data pack. Now the body needs to release it. So now I know, okay, if that's too many minerals that my body, it says that's too much. And so it was releasing the excess. And I did. And the same with my dog. My dog had the same food, and she had to pee like every 2 hours, every 3 hours when it finally went through her system. Her body was able to keep what it needed, and then it needed to release the rest. And then she had to release like every couple hours. And it was like, so my husband too, when he had the same food, the same hamburger helper, it was too many minerals and he had to release every few hours. Okay, so food is food. But how the food affects you is based upon your biochemistry and where you have imbalances. And so the holistic and the allopathic industry, they're trying to control it consciously with dosing you with all these different things and do all these tests. Say, okay, you're deficient, you're mineral deficient in this, you're deficient in that, and that's called functional medicine. And then they go and prescribe you a diet or prescribe you a pill, powder supplement, or a prescription drug, which then triggers hormones, suppresses them, or expresses them based upon the intention. And that's the whole point of the holistic allopathic world, is to manipulate your hormones for a specific intention, for an outcome. Okay? But with the J juice, we don't discriminate, because we're bringing up the proper hormones, the prostaglandin hormones, and then the ones that really shouldn't be expressed do get suppressed, because the body now wants to live. It's not on a death trajectory. And so you're going to see your oxytocin levels go down. You're not going to want to have sex with everybody in the world and chase tail 24/7. Okay? It's going to kind of keep your libido under control, where it's balanced, so you're not having somebody suck the life out of you. Okay? It's going to keep your adrenaline under control. You're going to set boundaries so you don't have those triggers around you, because let me tell you, people will trigger the hell out of you. And so you'll know how to then take people, with certain, you'll know how to draw your boundaries. Okay? I don't hang out with a lot of people. I don't. During the week, I'm on my own. I don't really talk to too many. I mean, I talk to people on the internet, and that's about it, but I don't go out and hang out with people during the week. It's only on the weekends with my husband, and we have some mutual friends that we hang out with on an occasional basis. That's great. But during the week, if I had somebody in my husband is gone during the week too. Sometimes he comes home, sometimes not. And I can handle him. We know how to handle each other. But if I'm around too many people with too many imbalances, it irritates me, because they have imbalances and I feel it. And some people don't know their boundaries. And it's not like anything wrong with them. They just don't know their boundaries, because they have imbalances. They just operate the same way they operate all the time, and that's their way. And it's not for me to say that it's bad or wrong, but I do put my boundaries, because I know people have imbalances. I know, and that's why I control my private messages. If I control who really talks to me on a most aggressive level, or who talks to me on a most constant level, because there's some people that want to talk to me all the time, and I'm just like, dude, okay, chill. This is how I control the communication, because people will impose their biochemistry on you, and if it's really imbalanced, you're going to feel it, like Princess and the Pea. Take care, John. You're going to feel it, Princess and the Pea. And so then you say, okay. So then, then you realize that we all have to kind of deal with our own world. We all have to kind of do it ourselves. We don't need to constantly, thanks, John, constantly be imposing our ways on other people. And then we're okay with being independent, okay with being alone, okay with trying to solve our own problems and figure out the world's problems, but not try to impose our solutions, but find solutions within ourselves and share what works for us. And maybe it might work for somebody else if they're in that same thing. And this is like, what I've done. I study the internet, learn about the stock market type of stuff, learn about patterns, and learn about all, because when you think about it, we're going to be around for however long, for 500, 600, 800, 900 years, who knows? Okay. And so right now, people are learning the stock market and learning the market trends on, a body that's only been around for maybe 50 to 100 years, if that, and that's not nearly enough time to understand the patterns in the market. So yeah, some people will hit it rich and make their money in their lifetime, and then they die, and it goes to their kin, their next of kin. But what would happen if we were able to be living around long enough to then understand the patterns in the human body, the patterns in the market, the patterns in the universe, and then make choices that are going to be beneficial for us, because we now understand the trends of our body, the weather, the earth, and the market. And then you don't lose your ass or then invest unwisely. Okay, so when people are desperate, they invest aggressively into something that doesn't give them a great return on their investment. Okay, and we're seeing now people in the holistic allopathic world who are desperate, okay, investing in remedies, investing in all these different cures, and they're they weren't around long enough to see the patterns that it's going to be very, very short-term cure with then major side effects at some point, because you know the side effects are going to happen at some point. Okay? So this is the whole point of J-Juice, is to be around long enough to understand the patterns of the universe. And that means everything under the sun. And when you understand the patterns, then you know how to make wise decisions for yourself and for your kids and for your family when you actually have that power. Sometimes you guys have lost power like as soon as the kid turns a certain age. And now they're doing their own thing, and they know the government's going to be hanging out with them and telling them, it's okay, it's okay. You know, you shouldn't let your parents, you know, spank you or discipline you. And so now it's the government that's raising your kid, not you. Okay? So if you can get to your kids before they get to themselves, and you teach them the right way before they take on their own mind, which, okay, is good, but sometimes kids will follow people over a cliff. So you as a parent should get to your kids way before the system does. But sometimes I think it's too late for some of you, which is okay. I mean, whatever. And you just exemplify it, and the kid will finally follow you at some point. But sometimes they don't. It just depends on their biochemistry. So yeah, so the whole point of the J-Juice is to stick around long enough to understand the trends of the body, mind, and spirit, and the universe. And so yeah, I've been hounding on the holistic world a lot. And I create these memes to show you guys that juicing is not the answer. Changing diets is not the answer. Taking anti-inflammatories and remedies and using food as medicine is not the answer, especially when you already have malabsorption and you already have malnutrition. It's just falling on deaf ears. And then you see the specific measurable results because you guys are aging. Okay? So, and you're depressed and you're angry and you're lashing out, and who knows? And what would life be like if you had all of your hormones under control? If you weren't full of love, 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 and hate, 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 and aggression, 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 and sadness and depression, you know, what would life be like? Oh my God, you would have worlds open up to you if you didn't have all those crazy ass emotions controlling your every move. And that's what I found with the J-Juice. And that's why I am sticking by the J-Juice forevermore, because it saved my life. And it saved a lot of your lives too that are doing the J-Juice. I had to go through a bunch of BS to get to this point. But when you know you're on the side of right, and I know I beat Dr. Phil at his own game. I'm not even a doctor. But doctors, the whole point of doctors is to suppress the prostaglandin hormone without killing you. That's the whole point of doctors. How do they manage your homeostasis, your choice in life, and not take you down at the same time? Okay? That's the point of doctors. So there's nothing wrong with doctors. They're just giving people what they want, but people don't even know what they want because they're thinking that pain is a bad thing and that being anesthetized and being drugged out is the best way. But then you look at the other end of the spectrum and you take all pain away, then you'll be biting your hands, biting your tongue, biting your lip, and you won't even know it because there's no pain to tell you that there are boundaries. When you chew your food, you're going to chew your food, not your tongue, right? I mean, you bite on your tongue, it hurts, right? So you stop biting your tongue. But imagine if you had no pain. You'd be biting your tongue, you'd be biting your fingers off all the way to the bone. I mean, imagine. Let's say when you can't see. If you can't see, you're blind. And you want to see so bad. So then what you do is you try to scratch your eyes so you see, and then you scratch your eyes out. But you don't even know you're doing that because you can't feel any pain. So, you know, when people are trying to suppress the pain hormones, that's essentially where they're going to, is they're taking themselves a notch closer to the death trajectory. And we don't have to die. That's the whole point of J-Juice. We don't have to die. Okay? And when someone survives their symptoms, when someone gets a symptom and they survive it, it's because they had enough mineral reserves and nutrients to carry them forward to another day. But those are the red flags. Those are the idiot lights on the dashboard letting you know, okay, you're on the reserve tank. At some point, you're going to be depleted. At some point. And you better act quickly and do something differently because you may not survive the next symptom. So anyone that has symptoms on the J juice and you survived it, J juice saved your life, because if you already have strokes and heart attacks in your family history, it's bound to happen, because symptoms is the body trying to heal. But if you continuously have the same symptoms and you have to control it with drugs, then it means you're not giving your body what it needs. And so it keeps having the same symptoms until you do something differently. And you'll have the symptoms or the chronic pain or the symptoms until you pass away. So when someone passes away in hospice, they don't pass away from that specific food or drink they had that day. They were just mineral depleted, and the body's trying to heal and trying to keep it alive and trying to use energy that it doesn't have anymore. And then the vital organs shut down. So that's why people die, is they have finally depleted their reserves. And the body kept telling them through all the symptoms throughout their whole life why they go on to the J juice, why they go on to different remedies and protocols, because the body was telling them, you're screwing up, you need to correct the mistakes. And people don't give the body what it needs to give. They apply the wrong chemistry. And then they apply all the therapies, which then harms you a second time or a third time based upon how many times you apply a therapy. Every single time you apply a therapy to a body that's trying to survive and trying to live is more damage that you have to heal from. So imagine people get on the J juice in their 70s, how many times they've applied the wrong therapies. That's how many times over you have to heal. Once from the initial trauma, and then twice, 3 times, 4th, 5th time. You know, you figure out how many therapies, you count how many therapies you've ever applied to your body. Talk therapy, physical therapy, chemotherapy, drug therapy, yoga therapy. You figure how many therapies you apply to the same issue. That's how many times the body has to freaking heal when it's on the J juice. And so some of you are not going to be able to do the J juice because you've applied so many therapies to the body, the wrong chemistry. The healing process is going to kick your ass. But some of you will be able to, because you understand conceptually that the therapies that you didn't affect your brain and your and the way you understand. And so your brain is stronger than your body, and so your brain carries you through the healing process, even though your body's like, fuck, this hurts. But you're able to handle it because you understand on a conceptual, intellectual level, because those therapies did not get to your brain. Thank God for those. But some of you have done the therapies out there and it got to your brain, and you'll never be able to do this. And you won't be, and so whatever. What are you going to do? You will just go over that cliff. Oh, I'm sure John Oakes definitely kicked you. Yeah, I'm sure it kicked your ass last week. I'm sure it did. It kicks my ass. I mean, I'm telling you, when I took the J juice on my period, I went through my PMDD symptoms that all in like 1 or 2 days. The 2 weeks that led up to my period was what the PMDD was, kicking my ass with the hormonal fluctuations and the constipation, the diarrhea and all that. I had to deal with that for 2 days. Okay, where I was trying to poop, but I couldn't. Even with the J juice, I couldn't. And then the body was releasing. I mean, that kicked my ass. That was another level of healing that I wasn't even expecting. Because you figure I already dealt with that a couple of years ago, right? No. For some reason, when I took the J juice on my period, I actually dealt with the PMDD. So it was kind of weird. It was really weird. And I felt irritated the other day. So I know, like, I'm okay. So I know that I went through another level of healing, and I'm still going through levels of healing. You guys are still seeing it. I mean, I'm changing. I know I'm changing. And so that's what I'm saying. You guys stay on the juice. It's going to be levels of healing. And if you get off the juice and get on, get off, and then, you know, it's like, you gotta just pick a time where you can kind of plan out your year. Okay. Plan out your year where you don't have as many engagements and as many social interactions that you are being tied to, and your job is stable enough to where you can go to work and give them, you know, the best that you can, but you don't want to overdo it. Okay, but you can get away with giving them as, you know, minimal as possible, I guess, but without causing them to fire you. And then you go home and heal. Okay, you drink the J juice, and then you try to, you know, with your vacation time, you take that time to drink the juice and heal. Okay. So, so yeah, I mean, there's a way to take this and integrate this with your life, but the things that you don't have to do, like the traveling and the partying every weekend and all the things that you're so used to distracting yourself, you say, you know what, that's not a priority. My body is a priority. And then what happens is then you see the specific measurable result, which is reversing the aging process. And you see other things that happen and you feel and you know you're really well on your way, but you know you're not there yet. Some of you have stopped when you see your symptoms of cancer disappear, but there's still, you have a lot more to go. You still have a long way to go. Okay, so I'm going into my 4th year, and I dealt with the PMDD symptoms that I was like, holy crap. Okay, so so yeah, I'm going into my 4th year. So some of you are in your 1st year or even your 1st month. It's going to be a climb, but it's worth it. But think about 3 or 4 years out of, like, you know, potential of 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 years. All right. And thanks, John. Thanks. So, yeah, I've been getting emails from people saying, like, oh my gosh, you know, how I want to do the J juice. Tell me how to do it. I've been getting more emails of people going like, how are you all over the internet? What's your business process like? How do you market? And I'm just like, here's the thing. You know, they're trying to market their MLMs and their essential oils. And I'm telling you, that business, that marketing of that stuff is passe. It's yesterday's news. Everybody and their mother is an MLM salesman in some way. And they all claim these cures, but yet they're still aging. Okay. So really, truly, if you want to be something that is revolutionary and makes you controversial, you got to take on something that's not popular. And that is the pain is healing process, because it's not popular. But then you have to actually exemplify, not just pay it lip service. You got to be on the internet every single day, going through the J Juice protocol, drinking it, doing it, showing and talking about your results and your experiences, and then also have something else that you're selling to, I guess, to then show that you're doing the J Juice and you're selling, I don't know, shingles, and why you be the best person to buy shingles from, because you're going to, I don't know how you're going to sell against other people who are putting shingles on roofs, but you'll find a way. And that's the thing with the J Juice, you'll find a way to make yourself apart from everybody else, because you're going to be different than everybody else. So you can have the same type of job everybody else, but the way you approach the job and the way your energy levels and the way you do your job is going to be very, very different. But you're not going to know that in the biochemistry that you're in right now, because this is your reality. This is the way you've been operating for however many years. Imagine you do J Juice and you get a different biochemistry, more energy and more strategy, and how you go about marketing, and then how you go about executing your job. Your duties. Okay, so so sky's the limit, but you have to drink the juice to do it. You can't just be like, okay, you know, this is great, but you're not actually exemplifying. You actually have to exemplify and do it. And first you have to understand the concepts. And so, John, you're learning the concepts. You're getting the conversation, the concepts, the just all the things that you in your head, you're getting them all straightened out. And then it rolls off your tongue, it rolls off everything, and you live it. And you're living it. Okay? You and Gemma are living it. And that's the way the people on the protocol need to be. It's not just paying lip service to it, it is learning how to talk about it and live it, exemplify it, and set your boundaries, and then don't worry about if people do it or not, and you just be the Jilly Juice, because it's going to then help you in everything else out there. The learning curve on anything that's new out there is going to be shortened. Okay? And then you see the connections in everything. And then you'll learn everything easier because you know how to connect the dots, because you already know your body. The body is no different than a system out there. Industries are no different than the body. The business process of the body is no different than the business process of insurance, of MLMs, of any industry that you want to get into. you know, law to nursing to teaching. Okay? It's about strategy, knowing who your audience is and working with them, knowing the system, knowing what the different ways to adapt to different environments, and when to get the hell out too, because not all environments you want to adapt to, because some are very, very aggressive that would then cause more harm to you. So it's even knowing when to get out of certain industries or get out of certain environments. Okay? And so those are the things you learn with J-Juice, is finding the right environment that is aligned with your biochemistry. And sometimes leaving an environment is not a bad thing either. Okay? So anyways, I'm going to do my thing, but yeah. You guys, man, the J-Juice is the thing. I'm telling you. But you just got to do it first. You got to deal with the first initial healing. Yeah, it's not fun. It's not easy. Believe me, it's not. But you will see the rewards either immediately or even down the road. And once you get a benefit, even a small one, that should carry you to the next benefit, to the next layer of healing. But yeah, sometimes you'll be curled up on the couch with a headache, okay, watching Netflix going like, oh God, this sucks. But it's temporary. It won't last forever. It's temporary. Just get through, okay? All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Love you all.